I am Janice Allen Jackson, and I am so pleased to be with you today for this very special Women's History Month. I am going to address a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is women in organizational leadership. I have entitled this presentation, Where Are All My Friends? Because it is indeed lonely at the top. Of course, that is true for men as well as for women, but I think for women it is particularly important because of the heightened degree of scrutiny that women often face when they are in leadership roles. When a man makes a mistake, he is often given the benefit of the doubt, whereas when a woman makes a mistake, she is forced to either sink or swim and may only get that one opportunity. When any of us accept a leadership role, we are bombarded with any number of decisions to be made. The most important of those often are in regard to personnel. That is, who will support us, who will work with us, who will advise us. I want to take these precious few minutes to share with you some of the things that I have learned over a lifetime of leadership experiences. Lord knows that I have made my own share of mistakes, and maybe you've made one or two yourself, but we should always remember that there are lessons in the mistakes. Before I get started with my presentation, I do want to address something that's probably on your mind right now, and that is what qualifies Janice Allen Jackson to make this presentation to you. Well, first, I was the first woman city manager in Albany, Georgia. I was all of 32 years of age, and I was thrust in charge of an organization of 900 employees. During the time that I was the assistant city manager for about 3 years, we had a huge natural disaster, and I served as the public information officer for that disaster. That meant that I was on television advising the residents of the community. And one day in the community, I was out, a resident of the community walked up to me and said, "You know, Miss Allen, we really appreciate everything that you've done to keep us informed and tell us what to do during this period. But, my mother and I were sitting there watching you one day, and we just said, we're just not used to having a woman on TV telling us what to do." So hopefully that lends some perspective about how my gender was perceived in that role. Later on in my career, I had the chance to become the administrator, the first woman permanent administrator of the Augusta-Richmond County government in Augusta, Georgia. That organization had almost 3,000 employees, and we had a budget of about $850 million that I was responsible for recommending and then implementing. It turned out in that instance that my bosses, my superiors, were of course the mayor and the commission. There were 11 of them and only one woman in the group. So with that as a backdrop, let me tell you a little bit more about how I prepared for those roles. Of course, I got a degree where I learned how to manage budgets, how to analyze policy, and how to shape organizational behavior. What I was not necessarily taught, though, was how to ferret out those who could be in my corner and those who maybe would not be in my corner. That, of course, speaks to the importance of continual learning, both in terms of formal professional development as well as in terms of careful observation of the environment and those around me. So, what can I share with you to help you in your careers? First, let me give you a few don'ts. You will find that other women are either your best friends or your worst enemies. So don't assume that a woman will always be an asset to you or your organization. You'll have to look at their patterns and their behaviors and make a decision on a case-by-case basis. Likewise, don't assume that men will automatically be problematic. Some are very happy to support a competent woman, while others are troublesome and sexist. Again, please look at each on a case-by-case basis to determine if he's going to be worthy to be a part of your team. Next, if someone is always expecting you to take his or her side, run away from them as quickly as you can. They likely are not there so much to support you as they are to advance themselves. If you think back and observe how a staff person responded to the previous boss, and you notice that there's a pattern of trying to kiss up to the boss, you're probably better served by keeping that person at arm's length. They may not be there so much for you as they are for access to authority, and will likely do or say whatever it requires to gain or maintain that access. Finally, if a person is not willing to disagree with you on some issues, they probably aren't the best advisor for you. What you want is someone who will disagree respectfully at the right times and in the right settings. The truth is, we often really don't know who it is that we can trust. I have found that leaders, new and seasoned, male and female, often make the mistake of choosing an inner circle of people based too much on what they consider to be trust, as in choosing people that they expect to stay quiet or people who they think will, quote unquote, have their backs. Typically, I have found that my best strategy was choosing people who have the skill set and the temperament to complement my management style while also adding value to the organization. So you see, I have come to redefine trust. I think the most trustworthy are those who are professionals and take pride in their work, regardless of where they are and who they're working for. Their competence is, in and of itself, something that supports leadership. These are really the ones that we can trust to ensure a high-functioning organization and thereby making us more effective organizational leaders. So, now that I've discussed a few don'ts and my perspective on trust, let's discuss some do's. 1, surround yourself with people who are secure in who they are. They understand that it is their job to make their bosses look good. They're not trying to be you. They're not trying to replace you, because they know that their time is coming, whether in your organization or someone else's. Next, surround yourself with many advisors. Listen to the entire team. Don't fall into the trap of listening to just one or two. Taking in the broad perspective builds confidence in your leadership and ensures that you have advance notice of how any given decision will be received. Become skilled in figuring out the happy medium between your multitude of advisors. Also, accept the fact that sometimes your team won't understand every decision you make. That is the reason that you are in place, to share, shape, and move forward a vision that others are not capable of seeing just now. Obviously, I cannot share every lesson that I have learned about leadership in these few minutes, but I can tell you this. I believe women make wonderful leaders, and I am here to do my part to share and help other women. Again, I am Janice Allen Jackson. I am principal of Janice Allen Jackson and Associates, LLC, which is my management consulting firm. I'm also host of the Local Matters podcast of Georgia. If you're on Facebook, please take the time to go and follow the Local Matters Podcast of Georgia. Also, when you're on YouTube, subscribe to the Local Matters Podcast of Georgia YouTube channel. Finally, I am ready, willing, and able to speak at your events, to present at your workshops. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can reach me at my website, janiceallenjackson.weebly.com. We've got a Contact Us tab there. Please send in your information and invite me to come speak to your group at any time.